Hey guys, Dave with Fitness Technology Services here. So today's video is going to be on testing the belt and the motor and the voltage out of the motor, again, just like I did on my last video, but I reinstalled the original belt. It's a brand new belt, but it's worn down in the center, so it causes a lot more friction. So this is what you're going to do if your motor controller doesn't work. So I got a lot of videos out on how to amp test things, but I don't have a lot out on how to check it if your motor controller is blown. So basically at this point you're going to have to walk on the walking belt and see if you can tell the difference between the outside edges and the center. So I'm going to do this kind of in two takes. I'm going to do it, then I'm going to have my son do it, and just so you can get an honest feedback of what this little test is going to do. Alright, so I'm going to try to create enough voltage to turn this on in comparison to my video that I did just the other day. Alright, so I'm going to kind of get in your way a little bit, I think. You want to shoot over here a little bit? I'm over at an angle over there, so I'm going to stand right in the middle. And then they won't be able to see the pretty lights. Can you see pretty lights? Alright, so I'm going to walk on the outside edges, and I'm going to tell you honestly if it feels like it's more force than what I had on the other video. And I can tell you right off the bat, this belt is a lot more worn. It takes a lot more energy to get it going. Now in the center, I can barely, and I'm not lying, I'm not cheating, I can barely push this thing enough to get it. Let me get on the edges where it's a little better, see? Now I don't suddenly become stronger. The belt is less worn on the edges than what it is in the middle. Alright, so I'm going to have somebody else do this now, just so you can get an idea. And I'm going to hook it back up to the Soul console, just so you can see how that operates too. But that's a lot of work. That's it for that video. Alright, so for the second half of this test, I have completely eliminated the NordicTrack console. I'm going to disconnect the motor altogether. So this should simulate your motor controller not working. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to have you understand how much more work it takes on the machine when you're walking on the side versus walking on the center, based off of the walking belt just being worn and frayed on the inside. Actually underneath it just gets kind of matted rather than frayed. Kind of a matted kind of feel. So for that test I'm going to have Eric do it, because he doesn't really help me out a lot, so it's a nice normal test on that. He's the guy that did the walking belt you saw in the last video with the motor controller working, but this time it's going to be with it out working, and we'll get an honest description from him if he thinks it's harder or not. So we're going to continue with this test. All right, Eric, your turn. So at first he's going to walk on the outside edges of the belt, and while he's walking, see, it's already hard to push. While he's walking on the outside edges of the belt, he's going to hit the incline up button. Oh, you might have to start first. All right. So the motor's not hooked up, so the motor's not going to help him at all. So he's just doing this by force. And as you can see, the incline is going up. So that's letting us know that your speed sensor's working. Again, your problem really is in the walking belt. All right, so hit incline down there. All right, so now what I'm going to have Eric do is walk in the center, and then he's going to give us his honest opinion if that is more difficult than walking on the outside edges. See, you're even grunting now.
Much more difficult.
Much more difficult. See, so even though this belt looks like it's in great shape,
That's like a lot harder.
that's a lot harder. So this is a young, healthy kid, 24 years old, 25 years old now, don't get mad at me. And he can't even push this belt, much less poor little old me. So that was a really good example of that, all right? He's already tuckered out. How do you like that? So that's how much harder your machine is working, and that's why it's blowing your motor controller, is due to no matter how pretty this looks on the outside, it's working too hard. So that's all I really have for that test. Hopefully this will be a good test for you guys, because I get a lot of motor controllers where they're working and the machine stops and no one really understands why. So sometimes it blows the motor controller. So I'm trying to show you guys how to test it once your motor controller is blown, because you can't really do the amp test anymore, because the unit's not working, it's one. Alright, so please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. It really seems to help. Thanks a lot for viewing this video, and I'll see you again next time.